Rick Thompson, Terry Marantetti, Timothy Locke, Scott Van Dyke, David, I think that's Bauer, David Bauer, and Eric Gunnels. Okay. Those are new ones?
Those are the ones that you just
Oh, gotcha. Okay. All right. Why don't we start? Sir, we'll start with you.
Hello, Timothy Locke.
please press the red button.
Oh, yeah. Thanks.
There we go. Timothy Locke, thank you for having me. Constitution is made of the people and by the people. The interpretation that should be given it is which is reasonable minds, the great mass of people themselves would give it. For as the Constitution does not derive its force from the conviction or convention of framed, but from the people who ratified it. The intent to be arrived is at the people, and it is not to be supported that they have looked for any dark or obtruse meaning in the words employed, but rather the common understanding, and ratified the instrument in the belief that was the sense designed to be conveyed. This is from Michigan Farm Bureau versus Secretary of State, 1967, 379, Michigan 387, 391. As I said, that's a ruling from the Supreme Court on how we deal with the People's Initiative. The idea is, otherwise, if we would speak our initiative, we could turn it into legislation. You folks turn around and play Scrabble, do what you want with the law, put it out. There's a reason the People's Initiative is held to the understanding of the people who voted it in. To that effect, I will move into 4851. As been noted earlier, the Board of Medicine has given a bona fide relationship, so I won't go there. But for a second deal, the term literally bona fide is an adjective in our English language. Have we become so retentive that there is no need to, or that there is a need to define an adjective, a descriptive word to our English language? I must ask, really? Per Black's dictionary, the legal dictionary, the term bona fide is defined as honest, innocent, in good faith. Simply, easily terms defined as the people understood the term. It was on the petitions, it was on the ballots. We got a few that wish to control our health care choices. A lot of people will say it's the Democrats with the Obamacare. To us here on this side of the table, it's the Republicans in Michigan with the Medical Marijuana Act. Where medical use of cannabis is concerned, to us on this side, it appears the Republicans would make me a criminal for wanting to have my personal medical choice. And on the other side, they'll make my daughter, pretty nasty words, because she has to take birth control to regulate a hormonal change in her life.
Mr. Locke, thank you. Right, 2 minutes.
Can I make one last statement?
Last statement.
There's just a little quote I'd like to leave you with. It says, if the people of government decide what foods they eat, what medicines they take, their bodies will be as soon in as sorry as a state as the souls who live under tyranny. That was from Thomas Jefferson, our second president of the United States.
Thank you. Sir?
Thank you very much. My name is Rick Thompson. I would like to acknowledge some certain representatives, Representative Kavanaugh, Representative Irwin, Meadows, Horn, Calton, and Representative Walsh for your participation in several of the radio programs that I'm involved in, the medical marijuana radio program, and also the Planet Green Trees. You all have appeared on those programs, and we appreciate that. Having said that, I would like to acknowledge a couple of positives in these bills and then acknowledge some areas for improvement. The 2-year registration period, the photo on the identification, and the forcing the Section 8 defense to be heard by a trier of fact are all positives. I would like to put a caveat on there that the 2-year registration program is only a positive if you do not double the registration fee. In order to make up for that, if you look at 4834 sub 1, which is a analysis from the Legislative Services Committee that's available on the website, it will let you know that having the cost also having a revenue, and therefore it's still a revenue positive program, and therefore no need to double the registration charge. On 4834, if you draw your attention to 4834, please. 4834 has a very disturbing clause, sub G under 6, would be found on page 4. Sub G previously or currently states possession of or application for a registry identification card shall not constitute probable cause or reasonable suspicion. It is to be amended as except as otherwise provided in this act. Possession of or application for a registry identification card shall not constitute probable cause. At what point are we allowing an application for a medical marijuana card to be used as probable cause for the determination of a search warrant? Although that may not have been your intent with this, this certainly is the application of the law as it's currently written. That portion should be amended. Also with 4834, at 4856, we have an issue in regards to cannabis being carried in an automobile. This equates cannabis with a firearm. There's certainly no comparison whatsoever between those two products. In order to require cannabis to be carried in a container locked in a trunk makes it a greater standard than you would have for any other much more damaging narcotic pills, and that's inappropriate. I'd like to also point out that these are sometimes phantom issues that are raised by people like the Prosecuting Attorneys Association and the Michigan State Police simply to make their jobs easier, although patients are made to suffer.
Mr. Thompson, thank you.
Thank you.
2 minutes. Welcome.
Hi, my name's Terry Marintet. I'm honored to have this opportunity to speak to this panel. I feel it's imperative that this panel understands the needs of the patients before making any ruling, deciding any legislation against a law that we the people decided on. I have fibromyalgia, degenerative disc disease, and a bare nerve in my back. Dr. Malcolm Fields, February, just last month, asked, "Who's using marijuana?" I said, "I am. I'm a medical marijuana patient." He said, "I can't fix you, but let me examine you." Upon examination, he said, "Obviously, the marijuana is working for you." And mental health has taught me to listen to what my body's telling me. For me, ingested oils make me feel alive and alert. They make me want to live. The medibles give me range of motion so that I can move. The topical balms work on the direct point of impact, and I can choose whether the marijuana motivates me or helps me to sleep at night. Without sleep, my tendons don't heal. My father, my family's full of veterans. My father was a Navy veteran. He wanted me to be all I could be. He was the man, died at his desk working for the state of Michigan at 43 years old. He represented the veterans through the unemployment office. And my husband's a disabled veteran, no longer strung out on morphine due to medical marijuana. Without my medicine in all of these forms, I'm confined to a walker 24 hours out of the day. Without it in all those forms, I may never be able to bowl a 208 game or a 514 series ever again. Currently, I'm confined only to the medicine my caregiver can provide, and we almost lost that due to power outages. Thank you, and please remember compassion in your decision.
Thank you for being here today. I appreciate it. Sir?
First, I'd like to thank Representative Walsh and the rest of the committee for allowing us to speak here today. My name is Scott Van Dyke. I'm 51 years old, and I've been married for 32 years. I'm a licensed medical marijuana patient and have been so since December of 2010. I suffer from chronic pain due to injuries and multiple surgeries to both shoulders, as well as painful tumors inside of my mouth. I also suffer from hearing impairment, bipolar disorder, panic attacks, and depression, which doesn't make my life any easier. I take my health and my personal choice to health care seriously. My choice to enter the Michigan Medical Marijuana Program was due to the proven reduction of prescription opiates and petroleum-based medications while supplementing with medical marijuana. My pharmaceutical cocktail I had been taking for years was finally sucking the life out of me, and with the support of my friends and family, I seen a change was needed. At the time of inception to the program, I was taking OxyContin, Percocet, Norco, and Flexeril on a complicated schedule throughout the day just to be able to move my arms and to help with the pain with the tumors in my mouth so I could eat. That's if I was fortunate enough to have an appetite due to the side effects of the prescription drugs. Today, 17 months later, I'm ecstatic to report that I have, in fact, with the use of medical cannabis, reduced the need for nearly all prescribed pain medications by over 90%. But due to the negative stigma of medical cannabis, I feel that if I were to inform my pain doctor about this accomplishment, that I, like so many others, will be terminated from my physician's clinic, even though he is very aware of my reduction in all my medications, but not knowing the reason why. Little did I know, or my family, upon entering this program, what the price would be to control my pain with medical cannabis. It's not the expense of the doctor's certificate or the cost of the state license. For me, it's the actual cost for entering the program, and it still is the valid concern for my family's safety and our freedom from prosecution, due mostly to the state's refusal to properly administer and fully implement the 2008 Michigan Medical Marijuana Act. My family and I have, in good faith, that the medical marijuana patients and their families would be safe from prosecution upon entering the program. The act was passed as a shield for the medical use of cannabis, but since passing it has been used for nothing but a double-edged sword by prosecutors to imprison us. Patients should not be forced through the judicial system to test what the legal limits of our law are. The act has not been implemented by the state in 3 years and counting, and the protections offered within it have been withheld by patients.
If you could wrap up, please. You're at 2 minutes.
Okay. Well, in short, I didn't sign on to this program to be incarcerated. I've signed on to the program to manage my pain and have a better life. And it can't be done with all the arrests that are going on with medical marijuana patients.
Thank you for being here.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you all for joining us. I'd like to now call Richard Julian, Daniel Solano, Cheyenne, no, don't know. Sorry. Whitney Hickman. Oh, thank you. Thank you. Henry James. Sylvia Dulana or Dulaney? It may be Sylvia Dulaney. Okay. If you please come forward. Yes. Mm-hmm. Daniel Solano? Yes. Richard Julian? Okay. Henry James? Okay. We've got Sylvia. Melissa Collins? And Jay Whitmore. Thanks. If you could come forward. If we'll go from my left to right. Sir, if you could begin.
Hi, my name is Richard Julian. As I passed out to the board members, clerks, to explain who I am. I've been a medical marijuana patient since the law roughly began and beforehand because I suffer from a liver disease that's terminal as of now, unless I have a transplant. So I'm going to get right to work. And 4834, showing IDs, gives the presumption of patients or caregivers being targeted by criminals, law enforcement, according to DHS, CPS, and other professionals I've dealt with over the past 6 months. These people removed my wife and I from our home, away from our children, because they say use of marijuana constitutes substance abuse, which is a violation of the law right now as written. So in my point there is, how do we enforce the laws for the opposing parties, such as law enforcement and the prosecutors and the other opposing parties? Now to 4851, doctors have a way around this, their rules, their committees, their groups, their insurance groups, by just simply doing what my doctor had done, is recommend alternative care. Recommend the alternative doctor. That way your doctor has some presumption that she is doing something good for you, not against you. Or he, excuse. Sentencing guidelines on 4853, it's fair enough. Laws do govern, in my opinion. I'm for some really clear issues on this, but in most of the cases, healthcare issues, they fine people, which usually deters from malfeasance and different kinds of, wrongdoings in the healthcare field. They suffer fines, insurance payments, and such like that. I don't see why that can't be imposed with the medical marijuana program. And then in 4856, I have extensive facts regarding the disregard for this law as written right now with law enforcement and transportation issues, okay? Maybe the law as written will help, maybe define it more, but not while holding people's lives, their children, their financial futures, and all these things hostage. You know, what I put up on the altar of this law just to feel better. And as you can read in my articles and go further and deeper into my case if you feel the need, I put a lot up to feel better, and I believe in something, you know. So I'm not trying to come up here and get one over. That's not my point. My point is this got me off a shoebox full of pills, and I can take care of my wife, my children, and my grandson now. And I could not do those things. So
thank you for joining us and sharing that.
Thank you.
Sir?
Good afternoon. My name's Jeremy Whitmore. I'm scared crapless right now, by the way. I have two major points. One is, why was the program moved from the Department of Health to the licensing board? And part of that, I turned in my paperwork for disability and everything, became a registered member. Then my book bag got stolen. I lost my paperwork. Then when I went to renew, I didn't have the right paperwork for Social Security. They took my check, they cashed it, and any binding, I got memory problems, so I'm searching for the word, but binding contract, if you cash a check, that's binding. But now I have until November to write in writing that I want my money back, or I send in my paperwork again, which I'm going to do. But if I didn't get all this done by November, you guys are going to keep my $25. Now, how is that possible? And then the second issue is, I got you guys this piece of paper in front of you. If you can look at the issue date and the expiration date, it's 10 months and some days. I mean, I can't grow for my patient for a whole year. Go ahead. I mean, I'm done. If that.
Ms. Whitmore, thank you for being here. I would encourage you, please feel free to contact my office on that regulatory issue on your check. If we can help you, we will.
Yeah, but like I said, I turned in to the state once I was disabled.
Mm-hmm.
It's just unnecessary to keep reinstating the same paperwork,
and that's
because
what we
you guys switched from this department to that department.
Well, and that's what we'll try and help you with that. So you can, part of our job is to help our constituents, whether you live in my district or not is not important to me, but you can reach out and we can try and help you. Okay.
I appreciate it, sir.
Yes.
Thank you. Thanks. My name's Melissa Collins. Thank you so much for allowing us all to speak today and in the last few Thursdays. I'll get right to it. I'm a self-taught herbalist. I practice natural medicine using herbs, vitamins, and minerals. I have self-taught for 10 years, and I've treated family members, friends, and relatives in this way. One real quick point I wanted to make before discussing the amendments was that it is nice that doctors can write recommendations, but there are not many doctors, I feel, that understand the value of cannabis as a treatment. They're not able to recommend what method of delivery someone should use for a specific ailment, nor the dose that they might be able to use for a specific ailment. So I actually am asking you to consider adding holistic healers and naturopaths to the people who could recommend cannabis as a medical treatment. I feel that those folks would have a wider understanding of what this plant can do to help people in their physical and or mental ailments. That said, I'd like to talk about the registry being available to police officers. I'm a very simple person. I don't do a lot of legalese type speaking, and everybody I've talked to, I don't know a single person who is a card holder that when presented with a warrant to search would not present their card to a police officer. It seems to me that to say that there has to be a list of people who are card holders or caregivers is a really gross violation of privacy and unnecessary. Really, it seems that it would be possible to change the protocol, and instead of cops knocking down people's doors, that they just knock on people's doors and ask them what's going on. And that's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Sir?
Greetings. Well, I'm standing in for Dan Solano. My name is Richard Clement, and I am actually the Outreach and Information Technology Director for the Michigan chapter of the National Organization of Reform for Marijuana Laws. And overall, I applaud the people for giving you guys the direction to do your job. And to that effect, I want to speak to 4834. We need to amend that. We got one department, we can get a bridge card on site. We got another department that can get a license in 20 days. And we got this other department that got 120 days and getting worse. That's like a come on, man. I mean, we could do better than that. I mean, we're high-tech Michigan. We could do better. This thing with this bona fide relationship, okay? Let's think about that. With information sharing, okay, electronic medical records, you know, let's say I'm up there on the side of the bridge and I'm out of my high blood pressure pills. Okay, I go to the the doctor up there, get my medicine, you know, write a script. Is there a bona fide relationship? Are we arguing over verbs? You know, let's get the reason. Another thing, the lockbox, okay? Come on, man. I mean, a lockbox. Let's put your smokes, your tobacco in a lockbox. That kills more people than the marijuana. I mean, I think it's just a nuisance. It should never leave this committee. It should vote against. A waste of time. Waste of time. It's not a pistol, you know. I'm here for all the children, too. You know, I hear the lawyer Steckler talk about he's here for his kid. I'm here for the kids, too. I teach. I'm here for little Rolanda, Rashonda, Melisha, Julio, little Pookie, you know, to stop getting them busted for little marijuana crimes and keep them in school so they can get a job. Okay? So they can be taxpayers, you know. Another thing, too, if they're in the school system, you know, teachers, if anybody needed to smoke a joint, it would be a teacher. I mean, little drugged up kids and, you know, industrial development. I mean, come on, let's make Michigan the best cannabis state in the world so we can export marijuana to Canada, you know? Free the weed. Peace. Thank you.
Thank you. Sir, you might find that microphone to your left a little closer.
Move over a little bit. My name is Henry James. I'm a user of medical marijuana and a provider. And I sort of can just ditto a lot of what I've heard so far. I think that this is not a health and safety issue. This is an actual bully act being run by a bully cult in our government. And the word abuse is interesting here. It comes attached to drugs, and it's brought to us by the same people that call masturbation self-abuse. I think there's something going on there. I think that honestly that Congress is being misled by some lobbyists, and I have background as a drug expert. I worked in drug programs. I counseled heroin addicts. I worked in a crisis center where I wrote with my partner all the training manuals for the phone line operators. One of our manuals has been sold nationwide, and it included a section on alcohol and drug overdose aid, which my partner and I wrote. So I think we got some background and can speak to this, and I would be willing and able to help you voluntarily on this project doing research. And the research that I've done so far, let me give you some of my background first, if I may. I have multiple sclerosis, I have epilepsy, I have heart arrhythmias, and I have some bad injuries, like both shoulders dislocated and things, and I use medical marijuana, and it works fine for me. Now, if this were an actual evil, bad drug, I wouldn't have been able to run a computer consulting business of my own for 25 years. Let me show you something here before I get cut off. All these drugs I have to take, they all say the same thing. Do not use this drug for driving or operating equipment, dangerous equipment, until you're used to it. Are we going to come up with a law for every one of these drugs that I get from the pharmacist? Because they all have dangers.
Sir, thank you. Appreciate your testimony today.
Thank you very much.
Yes.
Hello, I'm Sylvia Delaney, and thank you very much for hearing me today. And I used to be a county administrator. I don't look too formal today. So I do appreciate you sitting there in those chairs, patiently listening to all the rabble people coming up with their cases. I thank you. I'm dressed like this because I'm cold, because I have one of those incurable systemic autoimmune diseases. I've managed to have a pretty successful life, but the secret is, part of that is because I use medical marijuana. And I've had to keep that a secret through 40 years of professional life. Just a couple things, I'll be fast. Health, I think this is a health issue. This is not a law enforcement issue. This has to do with our country and civil liberty. I represent several other people who couldn't come today because their health is so bad. This is an ordeal to come and travel here. And I'm sure they'll call their representatives because it's important to them. Several other people aren't here today because of fear and stress that this sort of oversight creates in them. And I hope as you consider these bills, you think of the people who are afraid of losing their homes, their careers, I don't know what else. It's terrible. Over this plant. This plant, I grow tomatoes. Why is this plant singled out? Why is that? Finally, I want to thank you because most really important issues involving civil liberties start at the state level and work their way up. Slavery was abolished with states first. Women's right to vote, states voting and civil rights in the 60s. Reproductive rights, these all started at the state level where people are more in touch with the citizens and what they need. Finally, this registry info business, most of you aren't old enough, but I have to say this. I feel like a Jew in Nazi Germany.
I was going to say it if someone else did.
All right. Thank you. Thank you for your testimony today.
Thank you.
All right, we're going to call up 6 more people on the list. We have Joseph Whitmore, Joshua, it might be Raymond. I have Raymo. Okay, thank you. Kirk Reed, Sal, Ali or Ali, Ed Marshak, and I think that's 5, 6. Michael McShane. And again, if we can start to my left and
thank you, sir.
Work to my right, be your left, but start over here. Sir?
Hello, can you hear me?
I can.
My name is Joseph Whitmore. I'm an Eagle Scout, a Vigil Honor in the Order of the Arrow, and I'm also a medical marijuana patient and caregiver. I would like to know and have you help me understand, why is it that individuals can go get a drug screen for a job and put down that they take any kind of pill, whatever they're prescribed, but if I were to go to apply for a job and actually pay taxes and do all these things to help the state make money, why do I get singled out? Because I put down, and I'm honest and do the right thing, put down what I do. I put down that I'm a medical marijuana patient, and it's at the company's discretion to hire me. I feel that's unjust, unfair. It's prejudice. They're being prejudiced against my views. How is it that it's unsafe for me to operate machinery, but somebody can go be on a methadone, a Suboxone, Vicodin, anything, any one of those prescriptions on the bottle that says do not use while operating machinery. Well, you know, if you're taking that, then you can't take care of yourself, you can't take care of your family, you can't pay your bills. I've seen it. People go to the doctor because they're in pain, and they put them on something, and they become dependent, lethargic, that they don't even want to take showers, you know. It's just debilitating them, and it's an epidemic. People need to get off these medicines. The side effects are way worse than what they're ailing, you know, what they're curing. Thank you. And also, I would like, you know, how is it that you can try to release our medical records without being a direct violation of the doctor-patient confidentiality agreement? Please and thank you. I'm not trying to be aggressive, I'm just trying to be assertive, so if I'm coming off as mouthy, I don't mean it.
No, thank you for your testimony, though. I appreciate it. You've been fine. Sir?
My name is Joshua Ramo. I'm from over in Newaygo County, and all four of these bills are disruptive to the medical marijuana patients, caregivers, and doctors. In my opinion, the act as stated and voted upon by the citizens of Michigan should be enacted and put into play before we come back and try to change cards. You're going to put pictures on a card, which would be good, in my opinion, if we could get cards out, you know, faster than 6 months or so. The patient-doctor relationship, bona fide really needs to be defined by what I've been hearing in the past 3 weeks of these meetings. Nobody seems to really be able to tell me what bona fide means. The locked and closed facility wording in the bona fide, it's in the same bill as the bona fide doctor. I don't understand why they have the word stationary in there. Stationary would imply that then the transporting of plants is against the law at that point, which makes it even harder for caregivers and patients, especially disabled patients, to get plants. Starting from seed is a lot harder than transporting a plant, and it takes a lot less time to grow an already plant that's already grown. You're already expecting patients to wait 4 months for their medicine if they don't, you know, if they can't get it from another source, which many people in the House and other forms of government in this state have decided that they think they only needed to get it from their own caregiver. If that's the case, we at least should be able to move plants around, in my opinion. The lockbox, I don't understand why a lockbox needs to be used when I can carry a loaded handgun in a car in my pocket if I have a license. As long as I don't have a loaded pipe, then I shouldn't be getting arrested, or, you know, if I'm not under the influence, I should say. That being said, the main point that I've been hearing from everyone here, and I haven't heard a lot of people that are for these bills, is that patients and caregivers alike are getting prosecuted by the local government, arrested when they're in their limits, and I just don't think that we should be changing things before we implement something and see what's actually broken about it. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Yes, sir.
Hello. Thank you, President Walsh. My name is Ed Marchuk, and I'm a professional marijuana caregiver and grower. And I am a professional grower. I'm probably the only grower you're going to hear from today. We live in absolute fear. I'm growing marijuana, and I'm waiting for the moment when Bill Schulte comes and kicks down my door and breaks into my home and arrests me. I represent 17 other growers that were afraid to come here today and speak to you. There are a lot of problems with this particular law. The first one that I can think of is the term usable marijuana. We are not growing usable marijuana. I am growing medical marijuana. It's a different level of marijuana. It has to be properly dried. It has to be properly cured. It has to be free of mold and diseases that could cause my patients problems. To properly cure and dry marijuana takes about 60 days. I can only have 12.5 ounces or 2.5 ounces of marijuana per patient in my home. That's like telling a grower of corn that he can only grow 1,000 pounds of corn a year. What about the stalk? Well, I take the stalk out, it becomes less. My marijuana becomes 80% less of its weight after about 3 days. Properly cured, we lose about another 30% of the weight. Yet when I harvest my marijuana, a police officer could come in my home and say I have several pounds of marijuana that will dry to less than 2 or 3 ounces when it finally dries. So the term usable marijuana doesn't make any sense. You're asking me to regulate my corn before I take it off the stalk and deliver it to my patient. There's no way that usable marijuana is a term that could be used, and it's not a good term. We grow medical grade marijuana, a whole different level of marijuana. The second thing is, as a medical grower of marijuana in my basement, I know it's taken a long time, I appreciate your patience, I am recreating the outdoors in my basement. Plants die, lights go out, my power goes out, I get diseases, and I lose plants. So you're telling me that if I can't transfer from a patient to another patient or from a caregiver to another caregiver marijuana, that my patients have to go without because of my inabilities or my inability to grow that marijuana correctly. So if I get mold and I lose 12 plants, I've got patients now that have to go out in the streets and get marijuana because I can't go to another caregiver and get it for them. That's ridiculous.
Mr. Marshak,
ludicrous.
Thank you for your testimony. We do have your email, and as we begin to approach the distribution system, we may reach out to you.
I'm the only person here today that is
well, and I appreciate you here.
It has a chance of losing my personal individual freedom because I'm here.
I understand.
And there are a lot of people who are not here because I'm the only one willing to risk it, to come here and risk the police coming to my house tonight.
Thank you.
I understand.
Sir?
Thank you. My name is Michael McShane. I'm a veteran, also a patient and caregiver. In 2009, I applied for a marijuana card, really not because I was sick. It was really because I liked marijuana. And I like to smoke marijuana, and I thought it was a great way to legally get it and not get in trouble. So I did that. I went to my primary care doctor at the time, and he wouldn't sign the endorsement for the marijuana card. So I found someone else that did, who, by, I guess, common terms, it would have been a pot doc. So I got a card, and then I started growing marijuana. And it takes a couple of years to really, get it. So it's not something that happens very quickly. And I consider myself pretty technically competent, and it took me a while. So, long story short, I really didn't have a great reason for the card, although I got an endorsement for it. I had cancer 4 times previous to this event, which was last March. This was all going down when I came up with cancer again, with no Blue Cross card. No resources to get it fixed. I'd already had cancer 4 times, and the doctors never obviously fixed it. So I got with a patient that I'm not connected with within the registry, which bodes well to this patient-to-patient transfer issue, and I got marijuana oil. It saved my life. It did make me feel better. It got me here today. Someone here has cancer because 2 out of 3 of you will die from it. So I suggest you get out of our way and let us do our thing. Nothing that you're doing here helps us. And I would wish you'd stop it now. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. McShane. The next 6 I'd like to call up. Thank you. I appreciate it. Paul McCullough, Henry James, Sue Williamson. Henry James spoke. I'm sorry, we were working off a call-in list plus cards that were turned in, so I apologize when we do have some duplicates. No. Paul McCullough, Sue Williamson, Matthew Craven, Chris Larson, Randy Lalone or Lalone, Kenneth Gibson.
So I'm on your call-in list, and I gave...
Okay, thank you. Please proceed.
I'm Sue Williamson. I'm here for my husband, who's terminally ill, and Representative Graves, I wanted to let you know my husband has never been a veteran, and his health files are about like this thick. If I had to have that copied and sent to another doctor, that would cost me a fortune. And I see no reason why my husband's primary doctor could not write a simple letter of diagnosis and have it verified by the second doctor. Simple. And the other reason why I'm here is because my husband and I moved to the neighborhood that we did so that we could be near our church. And if they change the laws to 1,000 feet, I am within 1,000 feet of the church that I attend. And I will have to move because I will not sacrifice my husband because he lives 1,000 feet to the church that he attends. And I just find that horrible. And I'm going to lose my husband. This will not save him. But it has made it to the point where he sleeps, he eats, he has reduced his Vicodins. And I want him to die comfortable. And this allows that. And that's all I have to say.
Thank you for being here. Sir?
Hello, my name is Matthew Craven. I live in Sturgis, Michigan. I've been a medical marijuana patient for a few years now. I've seeked out to use this instead of going to doctors because I can't really afford them because they're pretty expensive. The last time I was at a doctor was my motorcycle accident, which is the chronic pain condition that I have, where I've gotten my medical marijuana card from. And on that doctor ride from the ambulance, which was only 6 blocks away from the hospital, when they shot me up with 8 milligrams of morphine and gave me a ride there, that cost over $2,000. And I didn't even get the privileges of having the lights on. So I thought that was really cool. But anyways, I have had encounters with police officers 2 times on 2 different occasions. And on this enclosed locked facility, my house is locked and closed. So I don't see why that I have to make it look like Fort Knox inside of my house, because only people that I allow in my house are trusted friends, not crooks and criminals and other people. So I don't feel why when the police came to my house and wanted to come in and they told me that I didn't have a lock on that door, that I was not within compliance, but they were going to let me slide this time. Even I said, well, my front doors are locked. They're like, well, yeah, but when we come in, you're not in compliance of the law now. Well, how does that figure? If I lock you from here, obviously it's locked and a closed, and if you get into my house, because it really, a locked and a closed is just to keep an honest man honest. If somebody wants in, they're going to get in. Banks have been robbed. They're not supposed to be robbed, And then also, I drive a 1988 Chevy S10. I don't know if you guys are familiar with that, cool of a vehicle and all that. It's pretty rusty and all that. But my glove box happens to be where my cup holder's at. So when I'm transporting my medication and I have to put it in that area, well, then I also want to put my cup for my Mountain Dew that I want to drink. Now, how does that work? How am I within compliance with the law? Technically, I'm in a locked area, but then yet my vehicle also has that area designated as a cup holder or as a storage area. So how does that make me within compliance with the law? Then also, I'd like to quote something from Franklin D. Roosevelt from January 11, 1944. So for the Second Amendment of Bill of Rights. It says, the right of every farmer to raise and sell his products in a return which will give him and his family a decent living. The right of every businessman, large and small, to trade in an atmosphere of freedom from unfair competition and competition by monopolies at home or abroad. The right of every family to a decent home. The right of adequate medical care and other opportunity to enjoy good health, good healthy living. And that's all that I wish to do, is everybody to enjoy healthy living. I wear this pink band every day. It used to be pink. It's no longer pink. It's a discoloration from one other side. I know 3 people personally that have survived breast cancer and other terminal cancers, and I wear this every day. It never comes off. Please
Thank you, Mr. Craven.
Thank you.
Sir?
My name is Kenneth Gibson, and to begin, I'd like to thank the committee for the opportunity to speak, and thank you for your time. I represent more than just myself today, as do you. I'm here to support those who cannot or are afraid to voice their opinions, and there are many of us. In 2008, 4 key points were before us voters. This was my first time voting, so I actually remember it quite well. I was actually quite proud. One of the bullet points gave control of the medical marijuana program to the MDCH, Michigan Department of Community Health. And another point enables for an affirmative defense for, quote, unregistered patients. With intent of the proposal and now the law is written in mind, you can clearly see that the law is intended for protection and not prosecution. 4 years later, prosecution runs rampant, and misinformation on all levels, media, government, and even ourselves on this side, patients. Many do not know what to do when they start, and we've addressed this. When a new patient enters the program, they're unsure of what to do and very limited on what they can do. And I give a scenario. An out-of-stater, let's say California or Oregon, or most recently, better, a senator from Washington, D.C., he or she is on vacation, is a legal patient. Under the law as written, I as a under Section 4J, that person is allowed to have protections with their equivalent paperwork or card from that state here. However, there is no way for that person to obtain medicine. Michigan, as many of you know, this is a very large place for vacationing. Where are these visitors supposed to get their medicine? If someone comes at me and is requiring medicine, if someone with a cancer came to me and needed medicine, am I supposed to turn that person away? Or should I follow the intent of the law, which says that I am allowed to serve a person for the medical need? And I can't send them to anywhere else because I wouldn't want to put another caregiver or somebody else in harm's way. Now, I do want to address one last thing. We've got a lot here. But Section C of the MMA 08 states, if at any time after the 140 days, the following effective date of this act, the department is not accepting applications, including if it has not created rules allowing qualifying patients to submit applications, a notarized statement by a qualifying patient containing the information required in an application pursuant to Section 6A 3 through 6, together with a written certification, shall be deemed a valid registry identification card. Department, as many of you know, is actually defined as the MDCH. Laura...
Mr. Gibson, I'm going to just have you wrap up.
Okay. Laura has control now, and this is not the law as written, nor was it in the proposal that we voters voted for. And if I recall, people's initiatives must be voted for the intent of them, as well as the intent of the law, must be respected on all accounts. And I definitely do not see this happening. And is it then our proposal that the patients start going to notaries to start getting their cards on time? Because not only is it cheaper, I recall a notary is only about $10, but I feel they could just go to their county clerk and do it in a day.
Okay.
So.
Thank you, sir.
Yes.
Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to begin losing some members to other committees, and we are down to our final 2 cards that have been handed in. Again, I just want to reiterate that we're going to continue moving on. I do want to reiterate that there will be no voting on these bills today. We are taking in testimony. We'll work on amendments, and we will schedule another meeting at which time those will be considered, and we'll certainly put that out to the public. With that, I'd like to call up Lori Cassell and Kyle Brockschmidt. Welcome.
Hi, my name is Lori Castle. Right now I'm dealing with stage 2 breast cancer, and I'm terrified. I start chemo in 2 weeks, and I'm a medical marijuana patient. I can't find the medicine I need to cure the aches and pains I have because all our dispensaries and stuff are shut down. Another thing is I'm a recovering addict. And for those that don't know, it does work for some of us. Like, I was addicted to crack for probably 5 or 6 years, and I've been clean off it for 10 years because of the medical marijuana. It works. and I work with other recovering addicts that I use the same thing because I know it works. And a lot of us say that that is the last step in the stages of our recovery, to be completely recovered. I appreciate your time and listening to me. Thank you
for joining us today. We have one final card that was turned in. David Imler opposes the bill but did not wish to speak. With that, Judiciary stands adjourned.